When Tomorrow Comes, by Tony Gagliardi. Chapter 7. Isla Perduta. They emerged from the vortex into churning seas under a starlit sky. Tomorrow rode the swells like a wounded bird, hull cracked, sails in tatters, carried by impossible currents toward a coastline that belonged on no map. Waves lifted them, dropped them, drove them forward with relentless purpose. Leo regained control of the wheel, steering them toward the dark line of shore ahead. Whatever this place was, solid ground meant hope. The final wave took them hard, hull grinding across coral, wood screaming against stone, until the Tomorrow settled with a last shuddering groan into the shallows. Then came the scramble, hauling gear from the wreckage, getting everyone to dry ground, while trying to make sense of what had happened, yet too exhausted to process where the vortex had brought them. By the time a fire was lit and bellies fed, they huddled close to the flames. Leo, Sam, and DJ took turns keeping watch through the night. One by one, exhaustion won out over fear, and they fell asleep under a sky full of stars that raised even more questions. In their dreams, fragments of the vortex returned. Maya spiraled through corridors of light, her star pendant pulling her forward like a compass needle. Luca felt himself spinning through electric storms, lightning crackling between his fingers. Danny moved through quiet silver tunnels where whispers echoed from nowhere. Noah tumbled through geometric patterns that shifted like living mathematics. Isla floated on currents of music, voices singing in harmonies she almost understood. Leo felt hands on a wheel that steered itself, following currents older than any chart. Eva catalogued shifting symbols that rewrote themselves as she watched. Sam tried to track their coordinates through space that folded in on itself. Marina swam alongside massive shapes that sang in the deep, creatures transforming, luminous, speaking in frequencies that made her bones hum. DJ worked desperately to repair something that kept changing in his hands, tools becoming light, metal becoming memory. When morning came, the dreams scattered like smoke. Now, as first light crept over the horizon, the fire kept its vigil, low and steady, casting thin threads of smoke into the air. The wreckage of the Tomorrow lay hunched along the water's edge, fractured, salt-scoured and silent. Its proud frame now lay lifeless and broken. The survivors huddled around the fire's comforting warmth just beyond the high tide line from where they could see the broken hull. None of them remembered much after the lightning strikes and the swirling current that had pulled them into the vortex, just flashes of light, then darkness punctuated by the sounds of Tomorrow's growling and groaning. Then waking here on this unfamiliar shore. The island rose before them, dense jungle giving way to towering cliffs. Beyond that, a mountain loomed, massive, strange, half hidden in morning mist. But where were they? When they'd looked up during the night, the stars were in patterns none of them recognized. The coastline matched no chart Leo had ever seen. This was a long way from Crescent Cove, further than any of them could imagine. They had made a makeshift camp where the beach gave way to a narrow rise of black stone and windswept brush. The cliffs above offered some shelter from the wind, and what remained of the ship's canvas had been stretched between palm trunks to form a shelter. The night had passed without further danger. No waves, no wind. But in the hush of morning, the silence felt heavier than the storm itself. Around the low flame, the survivors sat in a hush, heavy with the weight of what had been lost. No one spoke, not yet. The fire popped, a soft crack in the stillness. Maya stared at the sand, tracing lines that vanished with the breeze. Sam rubbed his temple, like trying to force clarity into place. Danny watched the jungle beyond the camp, as if waiting for something or someone to step out. They were all waiting for answers, waiting for someone to say what came next. And Leo, who had hardly slept, finally stepped forward. He stood over them, arms crossed, jaw tight. His voice, when it came, was steady, but laced with something brittle beneath. He paused. There's no sign of them. No one asked who. They already knew. Leo stared at the sand. 30 years of sailing, and he'd never lost crew. Not once. Until now. The weight of that broken record sat heavy in his chest, heavier than the morning mist. Isla's eyes filled with tears. Mateo had given her the pirate name just 2 nights ago. Buccaneer Brightwave. He'd knelt down to her level, smiled, and made her feel like a real adventure was starting. Now he was gone. Maya edged closer and gently touched her arm, not saying a word, but not letting go either. Marina stared into the fire. Sam flexed his wrist absently, still bruised. Eva didn't look up from her notebook, but her pencil had stopped moving. Leo continued quieter now. The two crew were on deck when the lightning hit, and those currents grabbed us. After that, with all the chaos and darkness, I never saw them again. He looked down, breath catching. And Matteo, last anyone saw him, he was carrying his chest below deck. That was before the storm rolled in. After that, nothing. Danny's breath hitched. Maya reached over and gripped her hand. No one filled the silence that followed. We have to face the truth. We lost good people out there. He bowed his head. No one moved. They deserved to be remembered. The camp grew still, the kind of stillness that falls after storms pass. The fire cracked. No one spoke, but something shifted in the silence, a quiet agreement that grief would have its place, but wouldn't rule them. Finally, Leo straightened, exhaling. The tomorrow's gone. Hulls cracked open, rudder sheared. But we've salvaged gear, some food, some tools. It'll stretch for a few days if we ration. He turned toward the jungle behind them, where the dense green canopy rose toward the island's mountainous heart, shrouded in morning mist. The maps are no help. GPS is fried. Compass keeps spinning. And the stars. Eva looked up from her notes. The stars are wrong. Off pattern, almost scrambled. Some sailors used to whisper about places like this. Islands that don't show up on maps, Leo said. Where the sea bends and the waters pull you in. Where compasses spin. Where no one who sails in ever sails out. Marina's brow furrowed. The sea of no return. Leo gave a slow nod. That's what some called it. Old stories, rumors, maybe warnings. Then Isla, voice barely above a whisper, asked, "Does that make this the island of no return?" No one answered at first. The fire crackled in the spaces between her words and their fears. Leo didn't say any more, and no one asked him to. The wind shifted, the cliffs loomed a little higher, the shadows stretched a little longer, and the beach suddenly felt very far from home. But we're alive, Leo finished, so we move. We ration, we listen to this place, and we look out for each other. He turned to the salvaged equipment they'd pulled from the wreck the night before. DJ, try the radio again, see if we can get a distress call out. The group drew closer as DJ moved to where the ship's radio sat on a crate among the salvaged gear. He worked the dials, adjusted frequencies, pressed the transmit button. Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is the sailing vessel tomorrow. We were caught in a severe storm east of Isla Solara. We've run aground and we're stranded on an uncharted island. Requesting immediate assistance. 5 adults, 5 children aboard. Over. Static. Pure, empty static on every channel. He adjusted the frequency, tried again. Mayday, mayday. Any station, any vessel. This is tomorrow, stranded on an island east of Isla Solara. Do you copy? Over. Still nothing. He worked through the emergency frequencies, the commercial bands, even the weather channels. Nothing, DJ muttered, working through the frequencies again. Not even carrier waves. Confusion creeping into his voice as he looked up at Leo and the others watching. It's like there's nobody out there to hear us. Same as the flares last night, Sam added quietly. No response. Sam checked his phone again, though he already knew what he'd find. Still dead. No satellites, no network. Leo's jaw tightened. The GPS has been useless since the storm. Compass won't hold north. Nothing's changed since last night. He paused, meeting their eyes one by one. We're on our own. A heavy silence settled over the group. Leo scanned the tree line again, then turned toward the open water. We'll need to keep the fire going, he said quietly. If there's even a chance someone's out there, passing ships, search crews, they'll see smoke before they see us. He glanced upward at the clouds forming beyond the reef. And we'll need fresh water by nightfall and shelter that'll hold if another storm rolls in. He turned to the kids. He hesitated. Not because he didn't trust them, but because part of him still wanted to shield them. Even more so here. Do us a favor, head down the beach, see what driftwood you can gather. Dry as you can find. We'll need it to keep the signal fire going. Stay close and stick together." Then he looked at the adults. "We inventory everything we have. Then we find fresh water. After that, we figure out where we are and find another way to signal for help. Marina, can you scout for streams? Sam, see what electronics you can get working. DJ, check what supplies we can actually use. Eva, help me figure out what this place is. But first, let's go and see what else we can pull from the tomorrow while the tide is favorable." Maya, Luca, Danny, Isla, and Noah grumbled, but didn't protest. The storm had drained something from them, not just energy, but certainty. They set off in silence, following the arc of the beach where the tide had pulled back. The sand was damp beneath their feet, the wind rising in slow, irregular gusts. Behind them, the adults turned back toward the wreck. There was more to salvage, crates wedged in the hold, scorched gear half buried in the surf, water drums still sealed in tangled netting. The flooded lower sections were dark and full of wreckage no one had dared touch the night before. Marina tied her jacket tighter and climbed onto the fractured deck. "If I fall in, give me 10 seconds before you fish me out," she called down. "Could be something under here worth the swim." Sam was crouched near the hull, wiring spread across a tarp. One working solar cell, some decent wiring, and maybe enough battery power to keep a few devices running. Eva focused on sketching their inventory, every piece of salvaged gear documented with scholarly precision in her notebook. DJ emerged from the supply hold, hands full of dented cans. "Food check, mostly beans and pineapple, might even be a tin of peaches if we're lucky." Marina straightened, hauling a medical case from a split locker. "Peaches go to the first person who doesn't break a limb." Eva smirked faintly. "Or to whoever identifies these constellation fragments I can't make sense of." Leo worked at a sealed compartment near the stern, trying to pry it open with a length of pipe. Sam glanced over. "You all right, Cap?" "Ship's cameras," Leo said, not looking up from prying at the sealed compartment. "Charter boats usually have a few for insurance purposes." He paused, wiping sweat from his forehead. "That wasn't any normal storm, and I need to know what we sailed into." Sam moved closer, studying the sealed housing. "You think the footage survived?" "Maybe. Help me get to the others. There's one at the bow and another near the main hatch. Your laptop should be able to pull whatever's on these drives." Down the beach, away from the wreck, the children moved in a different rhythm entirely. The wind rose slightly as they walked. The sound of the sea softened, as if distant, though it lapped only meters away. "It's too quiet," Luca muttered. "You want it louder?" Danny said. "We just lived through a hurricane." "I just mean, it's weird. Like something's watching." "Maybe it is," Maya said. She wasn't joking. The others went quiet again. Then Isla froze. She felt something shift ahead, like a presence, just beyond the trees. "There," she said. Maya stepped beside her, squinting. "It's staring at us," she said quietly, "like it's waiting." Perched on a drift log near the tree line stood a fox. Its fur shimmered, not red, not white, something in between. Like it had caught the light of sunrise and held it there, bent and glinting silver. "That's not normal," Noah said. "Why isn't it running away? Most animals would bolt when they see people." "Maybe it's lost too," Danny whispered. The fox tilted its head, and in that moment something shifted. Not quite a gesture, not quite a signal, but it felt like an invitation. Then the fox turned and stepped away from the beach and into the trees. The kids exchanged glances. "Should we follow it?" Luca asked. He wasn't smiling. "Leo said stay close," Isla murmured. "We are," Maya said, "to each other." "Or are you scared?" Luca added, glancing at Noah. "No," Noah muttered. "But it's weird, that's all." "So is this whole place," Danny said. "But it's the only thing that feels like it knows where it's going." They looked at one another, no one spoke, but a silent agreement passed between them. Luca stepped forward. "I'll take the front." "I've got the back," said Noah. One by one they followed. Isla felt the jungle closing in, damp, quiet, full of eyes she couldn't see. Ferns brushed their arms, the light dimmed. The fox moved ahead, a flicker between trees, maintaining its distance. Then Maya pointed. There, what is that? They stepped closer. Twisted metal jutted from the vines. A wing was exposed to one side. Luca moved around it slowly. It's a plane, he said, a really old one. Luca brushed the vines aside near the tail. Wait, there's something painted here. He leaned closer, tracing the dark letters with his finger. B4731. The nose and propeller were caught in undergrowth. A cracked compass hung in the cockpit, its needle twitching. Maya stepped around the wreckage, eyes scanning the ground. Look, a trail. The others turned. There was a clear path cut through the undergrowth, as if someone had hacked through with a blade not long ago. Luca brushed aside a branch, and for a moment they caught a flash of movement. The fox could be seen just beyond a fern, then disappeared, heading off into the trail. They didn't speak. They followed. The fox moved ahead, always just beyond reach, leading them deeper into the jungle. Back at the wreck of the Tomorrow, Eva, Sam, Leo, DJ, and Marina worked steadily, heads down, hands busy, anchored by the weight of survival. Marina checked the medical supplies, organizing bandages and antiseptic. Sam worked at the camera housing near the bow, carefully extracting the sealed unit Leo had asked him to retrieve. DJ knelt by a splintered crate, stacking tins of food and snapping damaged ones aside. Eva had found a flat surface and continued marking inventory in her notebook. Supplies, rations, water. Leo stood on the tilted edge of the shattered hull, peering through what was left of Tomorrow. The children continued following their silver guide along the trail, deeper into the jungle. The fox kept to the trail, moving with purpose, never hurrying but never stopping, always just visible enough to follow. Eventually it led them to a creek. The fox turned and padded further upstream along the bank, and there, at the base of a rocky outcrop, they discovered a cave. Near the entrance, a circle of blackened stones surrounded cold ashes where someone had made fires. The mouth of the cave was low and half swallowed by vines. Cool air greeted them as they ducked inside. The shadows were soft, like the cave had grown used to being alone. Maya stepped deeper, her eyes adjusting to the dim light. Near the back wall, pieces of the plane had been dragged inside, a section of wing propped between two rocks to form a crude bench. Another piece of wing served as a makeshift table. Look at this, Noah said, kneeling beside a wooden crate wedged against the cave wall. Military stenciling was visible on its side. Isla peered over his shoulder as he pried it open. What's in it? Inside, a flight jacket lay folded on top of other gear. Brown leather, worn at the shoulder but otherwise remarkably intact, with winged insignia still clear on the breast pocket. The pilot, Isla breathed. He made it out of the crash. Luca was already checking another crate. There's more stuff here. Tools, empty tins, engine parts. Maya touched the jacket gently. He lived here. Actually lived here. For how long? Danny asked quietly, studying the careful arrangement with her usual sharp observation. Do you think he's still here? Luca asked, glancing toward the cave entrance. Still on the island? This gear looks super old, but still looks usable, Noah said, examining the crate's contents with fascination. Maya knelt carefully beside the crate and found a canvas satchel tucked beneath the jacket. She opened it and pulled out a leather-bound journal. The cover was worn but whole. Inside, dry pages, inked notes, strange markings. Maya flipped through the first few pages, her eyes scanning the symbols, the handwriting, strange charts, inked maps, hand-drawn constellations. He wasn't just surviving, she said softly. He was studying something. Luca moved closer, peering over her shoulder. He knew he was stuck, he said. He was trying to figure out where he was. They exchanged a glance, the kind that passed between kids who'd crossed a line into something bigger than they understood. We have to show them, Maya whispered. The others nodded. The cave held no ghosts, but it held memory. By midday, the salvage crew had hauled what they could carry back to the camp. Food, tools, fragments of tech. The fire still smoked in the center, not big, but enough to signal life. Marina tied off a tarp corner. Sam counted battery cells again. Eva frowned over the inventory. No one spoke much. They were working, waiting. Then DJ looked up from the fire. Shouldn't they be back by now? Everyone stilled. They've been gone a while, Marina said, scanning the beach. They were only supposed to go for driftwood. A silence fell. Leo turned sharply, looking toward the shoreline. Everyone spread out, he said. Check the beach, the tree line. Stay in pairs. Call out if you see anything. They moved quickly from the camp. Sam and Eva headed into the jungle in one direction, DJ and Marina in another, and Leo set off alone down the curve of the beach in the direction where the kids had last been seen. After they'd searched as far as they dared from camp, DJ and Marina returned, shaking their heads. Sam and Eva came back soon after, both unsettled. Leo arrived moments later, breathing hard. I found their tracks, he said, 5 sets, heading into the tree line down the beach. They went inland. We're going after them. Sam grabbed a machete and some rope. Marina was already reaching for her bag. But just as they started to move, the children could be seen stepping out from the tree line down the beach, making their way back to camp. Maya led the way, journal clutched tight. Luca followed, then Isla, Danny, Noah, each wide-eyed, wild with excitement about their discovery. We found something, Maya said, holding up the journal. A cave, and this. Leo stepped forward. Show us. Take us there, he said. The adults followed the children into the trees, not guiding them, but trusting them. From the tree line, the fox watched them begin the first steps of what would become a journey none of them fully understood.